Everybody, welcome to episode 54 of Films and Fermentation. Tonight's episode is Film Twins. No, we are not talking about Schwarzenegger and DeVito, nor are we talking about the Olsen twins. We are talking about movies with similar plots that came out in the same year. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced.
Woohoo!
Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit Linktree, that's Linkree, linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links in one convenient place. In this episode, we are going to be discussing twin films. Twin films, according to Wikipedia, are films with the same or very similar plot, produced or released at the same time by two different film studios. The phenomenon can result from two or more production companies investing in similar scripts around the same time, resulting in a race to distribute films to the audience. Some people attribute twin films to industrial espionage, or the movement of staff between studios, or that the same screenplays are sent to several film studios before being accepted. Another possible explanation is if the films deal with topical issues such as volcanic eruptions, reality TV, terrorist attacks, significant anniversaries. All of these can result in multiple discoveries of the same concept. Wikipedia also said that The Towering Inferno, a very popular disaster film from the 70s, was originally two different films with the same plot line. But when the studios discovered that they were filming this at the same time, instead of competing with each other, the two studios worked together to bring both of their casts together into an all-star spectacle that became the one film. If only other studios had learned that lesson.
Oh, no kidding.
So, Mike, what happened?
This day in film history.
I think we got to work.
History.
I got to work on a better way to intro that so you can go into your fancy voice.
This day in film history in 1999, The Matrix, film written and directed by the Wachowskis, starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, and Carrie Ann Moss, premiered.
And then a million movies after that copied the bullet time special effect.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden,
I remember seeing that in the theater. I was quite impressed.
I actually did not see this in the movies. I remember it coming out, and I remember seeing a preview for it and thinking to myself, I'm not sure about this.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me a little too much of Johnny Mnemonic, which was a Keanu Reeves movie from a few years before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm interested in this. I actually watched it for the first time at Katie's house.
I didn't watch
you went and it was a blockbuster night for you?
It was a blockbuster night at Katie's house, yeah, and we
It
watched it.
It wasn't until like after the third movie had come out before I even watched them.
Oh, wow. No, I had friends from college who wanted to go see it, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I didn't know what to expect, and I was pleasantly impressed.
Yeah, I was blown away by it, and afterwards I was like disappointed that I didn't actually see it in the theater. So then I went and saw the last two in the theater and was thoroughly disappointed that I didn't wait for them to come out at Blockbuster. And it's funny because The Matrix is actually one of the films that's going to be on our twin films list tonight.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Mike, what's your fun drink fact? This is interesting because these two are kind of like related to each other in a way.
That's why I put them both together.
Yeah.
The largest beer producer in the world is the Belgian corporation Anheuser-Busch InBev. This company owns about 400 beer brands in 50 countries. Budweiser, Corona, Stella Artois, Beck's, Hoegaarden, and Leaf, among others. As of 2018, the leading beer brand worldwide is Budweiser. The value of the brand is more than $15 billion. In second
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
In second place is Heineken. In third place is Bud Light. The top five also include Stella Artois and Corona. So this says like 4 of the top 5 producing beers
are Anheuser-Busch. Yeah. And I actually didn't know Stella Artois was part of that company. I'm a little disappointed now because I like Stella Artois.
And Corona.
And Corona. I like Corona too. But I'm not a big fan of Bud or Bud Light or anything like that. Yeah, it's a lot of beer. Well, I mean, because it's like the cheapest beer you can get, really. So I mean,
Pabst.
well, for the most part, well, but it's a relatively inexpensive beer. I mean, not the Stella Artois. That's a little bit more, but like Budweiser, Bud Light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like Hoegaarden, but Hoegaarden's usually pretty expensive per case.
More German style.
But I had a friend who went to Ireland once, and he was drinking in a bar in Ireland. And he ordered a Guinness, and he was surprised that all the people in the bar were not drinking Guinnesses; they were all drinking Bud Light. And he asked one of the locals, why are you guys drinking Bud Light? You got Guinness over here, and he goes, because it's. He's think his exact words were, it's cheap as fuck. You could drink twice as much and piss half as less. And he said, whereas the Guinness that he had was served warm, because that's how they drink it over there.
Yeah.
And he said it was pretty fresh. He thinks there was a tree branch in it still. But yeah, popular drink because it's cheap. So notes from the last episode. I was not sure about episode 53 when we were recording it. It was our President's Day, belated. Was it the belated President's Day 153? What was
Yeah.
that episode?
Yeah, we
No.
No, it was the Devils, Gods and Devils.
No, that was Gods and Devils.
Yeah, Gods and Devils, yeah.
Yeah, I fucking edit the shows. You think I would remember what the hell they are? But I wasn't sure about it because I felt like when we were recording it, I wasn't sure how interesting it was or if it was really like, just a good show. And then I listened to it on the way to work, like I usually do, and it was better than I remembered it being. It was actually had some pretty funny moments, and I thought the discussion about the Gods and Devil films was pretty interesting. And I didn't put any trailers in German this time. I actually edited together a video of different actors playing God and the Devil.
Nice.
That it's both on the recorded podcast episode and the YouTube one. I did a shorter one of video clips. But it ended up coming out a lot better than I thought.
Okay.
So in my continued quest to watch as many Oscar nominated films as I can before the Oscars premiere this Sunday night, I just watched a film called The Last Duel, which I remember it coming out and only being out for like a brief moment, and remembering that people were just making fun of it a lot because Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are in it, and they have like bleach blonde dyed hair and dyed goatees and stuff, and they look kind of ridiculous. But then I'm like, I'm gonna check it out because it does have Adam Driver in it, who I really like, and it has Jodie Comer in it, who's pretty good on Killing Eve.
And it's directed by Ridley Scott.
Yeah, it's directed by Ridley Scott. So I said, I'm gonna give this a shot, and it was actually pretty good. Matt Damon is a like down on his luck knight in medieval France. It's based on a true story, and he's so desperate for money. He works out a deal to marry the daughter of a rich lord, and it's played by Jodie Comer. And she gets raped by Adam Driver's character, who's like a rival knight. But you see the story from three different perspectives. So first, it's Matt Damon's character, who is her husband, telling his version of the story. And in his version, she's a doting wife. She loves him with all her heart. And she was so devastated when this happened. She rushed to tell him and all that stuff. And then you hear Adam Driver's character's version of the story, in which she enjoyed it. like she wanted it to happen. And then you hear her version of the story, which is she hates both men, including the guy she's married to. and it's like, it was really like interesting in that respect. And then I read about it afterwards and found out that it was based on a true event. And it was considered the last trial by combat in French history.
Interesting.
So at the end, he sues Adam Driver's character. Adam Driver turns down like this deal that he can make with the church or whatever, and they agree to trial by combat. And basically, if Matt Damon's character wins, then he's guilty of the rape, and he and his wife can go on and live their lives. If Adam Driver's character wins, then it means that she wasn't raped, and Matt Damon has to forfeit all of his possessions, and Jodie Comer gets burned at the stake.
Oh,
Wow.
Like that's how the deal
those
works.
sound like fair terms.
Does not
Yeah.
sound like fair terms. I'm not going to tell you the ending because it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it was a better movie than I expected it to be. It was a little long in some parts. It was a 2.5-hour film, so it did like feel like a 2.5-hour film. But there were some pretty decent. It's really good performances from Jodie Comer, Matt Damon, and Adam Driver, especially. Ben Affleck has a very small role in it, and he's kind of like weird to see him in a medieval movie like that. Matt Damon actually fits in the role better than Ben Affleck does. But it was pretty decent. It was one of the better films that I've seen in my Oscar film run lately. And then I have before we get to our drinks, I have a fun little trivia fact about Star Wars. And it's
go
real
quick. The last duel.
Mhm.
Is this a twin of the Green Knight? Did they come out at the same time? Is there
They
a
came out at the
similarity?
same time. The only thing similar about them is that they're both sort of like medieval stories.
Oh, okay.
But like the Last Duel is based on a true story, whereas the Green Knight is part of the Arthurian legends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Green Knight's about Sir Gawain, who is challenged by this mythical being called the Green Knight, and has to kind of claim his rightful place as one of the knights by defeating him and all that.
After the Green Knight rapes his wife.
Yeah, I watched the Green Knight. Well, there is no rape in it. There is a really disturbing like masturbation scene. It was boring. It was really fucking boring. It was like like people joke about how Lord of the Rings is about a bunch of guys walking across the country for 13 months. At least there's some action in the Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
Green Knight was a guy who gets challenged by the Green Knight, spends the next year fucking around because he's a kid, he's basically an immature guy. And then King Arthur finally tells him, like, you have to live up to your agreement with the Green Knight, and then spends the next hour and a half walking across the country with very little action happening.
Masturbating.
Yeah, masturbating along the way.
Okay.
So not a twin movie.
Not a twin movie, no. There's no masturbation. There's only rape in the other movie, no masturbation.
Kind of a distant relative movie.
Yeah. Both sexually themed, if you want to look at it that way. So speaking of sexual themes, Burt Reynolds had a.
Son of a bitch.
I learned this on another podcast I was listening to the other day, and this is like a weird relationship thing that I just thought was kind of funny. Star Wars, the original Star Wars: A New Hope, came out in 1977, and was by far the #1 box office hit of that year. #2 in the box office in 1977, so the second overall box office, smash that year, was Smokey and the Bandit, starring Burt Reynolds.
And
in 1980, Empire Strikes Back comes out, and that dominates the box office, much like its predecessor does, becoming the #1 film of the year in 1980. The #2 film of the year in 1980,
Smokey and
the Bandit 2, starring Burt Reynolds. So basically, it's the story of Burt Reynolds getting cock-blocked by George Lucas twice. If it wasn't for the Star Wars franchise, Smokey and the Bandit might have its own like legacy and like in-universe tale.
Instead, they're just eastbound and down.
Yeah. That being said, speaking of Star Wars, I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan Kenobi series that's coming on soon. And in other Disney Plus news, Moon Knight starts next week.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the character, but the trailers seem pretty intriguing. And I really like Oscar Isaac anyway, so I figure I'll check it out. When it comes on.
I'm not quite sure if you guys have seen the Batman yet, but
No.
there was a release today of a deleted scene, which I guess I'm just going to stop there because it kind of gives away stuff. So
Was there rape or masturbation in it?
No.
Well,
I saw, and the actor playing the character in that deleted scene was in the Eternals.
Yes, he was.
He was Druig,
the
guy with the giant nose who was in love with the deaf girl. Yeah, so he's that actor, and I'm not going to say anything for anybody who hasn't seen the movie or the trailer yet. I haven't seen the movie, but I did see the deleted scene anyway. Just came up in my YouTube feed. So,
Telling you, those algorithms, man, they
yeah, I
just
know.
shove it down
I
your
know.
throat. It's
They
like
do.
They do.
you're looking at a recipe and it's like, and while I made this, check this shit out.
I'd like to go to the movies and see it, man. I just haven't had the time to do it, and that's a large commitment, man. Because it's 2 hours and 56 minutes.
It is. It is.
large commitment.
Buy a drink, but drink it quick and then save that empty cup.
I was thinking like just wearing a pair of Depends.
Oh, there you go.
Instead of making a mess in my seat.
You're walking out.
Instead of making a mess in my seat, I just make a mess in my drawers. Yeah, like I like to
scared the shit out of me.
I've been trying to catch it on Cinema HD, and so far I've only caught the actual movie twice, but both times they were filmed off somebody's cell phone.
Oh.
And had really poor quality and people walking in front of the camera, and both times it stopped midway through the action to play a commercial for a casino in Dubai. And then all the other feeds were either The Eternals, Sing 2, or Batman with Michael Keaton.
At least it was Batman.
There was some Batman on there.
They didn't show that version of Batman that I sent us on the what was it, Facebook page? The Dollywood version of
Bollywood version. Bollywood version, yeah, the Bollywood version. There's a Bollywood version of everything, man. You got to see the Bollywood version of Spider-Man. That's even more interesting. So, what are we drinking this evening?
Well, I think I try to theme mine towards the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with 2 beers that I found when I was on vacation last year in 2 different spots. One is the Antietam Brewery's Long Neck Lager, and the other one is the Devil's Backbone Vienna Lager.
Ooh.
So twin lagers.
The twin lagers.
Twin lagers. Well, I also chose 2 beers which were twins of each other.
One's French toast and the other one's bacon.
One is French toast and the other one's maple morning.
Okay, so double the syrup.
Yep, both having syrup. Which one do I want to go with first? I'll do the French toast first. All right.
So Katie and I went out to dinner last Saturday for our anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. We went to this really, really nice restaurant. It's the kind of restaurant you can only afford to go to once a year. And they had
Pot?
I'm not gonna say the name of the restaurant on the thing because I don't know if they would.
Not paying you.
They're very classy.
Oh, okay.
I did
like
drop
us.
and I did leave a few business cards behind, so they can find us if they want to. But they had a drink on their menu that was like their signature drink, and it was really, really good. So I was going to do that tonight because I had all the ingredients for it. And then I decided at the last minute, no, I should look for something that's related to the theme. So I found a cocktail online that was easy to make, and it's basically just bourbon, simple sugar, lime juice, and lemon juice, and just mix it together on ice, and it's called the Twin Hills cocktail.
Okay.
It is very bitter.
The lime and lemon juice, yeah.
Yeah, lime and lemon juice. It's really good, but it's just better. It's just a little bitter. And Katie was like, "You stink. I can't kiss you." All right, whatever.
She only kissed you like 4 times before we started.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, trying to hide herself.
Mm-hmm.
So our main segment this evening is film twins. We are not talking about actors or actresses who have played twins on film, but rather movies of the same genre that had nearly parallel releases.
So not Haley Mills playing Haley Mills?
Yeah, not Haley Mills playing Haley Mills or Lindsay Lohan playing Lindsay Lohan.
Okay.
Or the Olsen twins, or Bette Midler and what's her face? I can't think of the other actress's name.
Not Arnold and
not Arnold and DeVito. No,
okay,
no.
okay.
Although I did.
What was that one with Matt Damon and what was his name? No.
Oh, is it the one where he's a Siamese twin?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear.
Stuck on You. Yeah,
Stuck
Greg
on
Kinnear.
You. Greg
Stuck
Kinnear and
on
Matt
You.
Damon.
Not that one either.
That was a Farrelly Brothers movie. The guys that did Something About Mary. Yeah, it's not that one either. So
Okay.
I found a pretty definitive list, like I said, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just all right. So the list starts in 1939. We're not going to do all seven decades that are listed on here. So what I figured I'll do is I'll just run through some of the early notable ones, and then we're going to go to 1979, which is where it really starts to pick up, and you start to get this major trend in Hollywood of related films. And in some years, there's 3 or 4 films that come out that all share very similar plots.
Ooh, triplets.
Yeah, so we're gonna run through 79 to 99. It's a 20-year span. We can get through some pretty good, films in that span, and then we'll save the later decades for another episode. We'll do a twin later on. So let me just give you a few examples from early on. So the first movie on the list that's kind of considered like the original twin film came out in 1934. It's 2 movies about the Russian Empress Catherine the Great. One is called The Rise of Catherine the Great. The other is called The Scarlet Empress. And it's not until 4 years later in 1938 when the next twin film comes out. It's Gone with the Wind. And its twin film is called Jezebel. And the story behind that is Betty Davis went out for the role of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, and she lost the role. And she was so irritated by it that she had a producer friend of hers write the movie Jezebel for her. Jesus. And they both came out in the same year, and they are both about a feisty Southern belle during the American Civil War.
I don't know about you guys. I've seen Going with the Wind. I've never seen Jezebel.
I've never seen it, and that's what kind of what you'll see, what you'll kind of notice from this list is that of the twin films, there's usually one that's really popular and one that doesn't make as much money as the other one does. For example, in 1958, you have The Fly with Vincent Price. Mm-hmm. That same year was a film called The Wasp Woman. I've never heard of The Wasp Woman. I've seen The Fly a number of times.
And it's been rebooted.
Yeah, and it was rebooted, and the reboot was excellent. Dr. Strangelove, oddly enough, had its own twin film as well that year. The film's called Failsafe. I've never heard of it again, but they are both satires on the nuclear war.
Oh,
okay.
In 1965, there's a movie released on the life story of actress Jean Harlow. The movies did not decide to get very creative with it. One's called Harlow, and the other one's called Harlow.
So if you go to the wrong one, you're screwed.
Yeah. That's not the Harlow I wanted to see. It's the other Harlow. In 1970, Mel Brooks made a movie called The 12 Chairs, which he considers one of his best films. In the same year, another film called The 12 Chairs was released. And both of them are based on the same play.
Okay.
1971 saw the beginning of the black exploitation genre with the release of Shaft.
Right.
And released that same year is another black exploitation film called Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. So here's
so let me guess, the second one was the famous one, right?
Yeah, Shaft was probably more famous. 1973, you have 2 Broadway musical adaptations of the life of Jesus Christ to come out in theaters. Jesus Christ Superstar. And the probably lesser known Godspell.
Godspell sounds familiar.
Godspell it was pretty popular on Broadway.
I think that's what I saw. I saw somebody do a show that
was not as popular in the theaters as Jesus Christ Superstar was.
Right.
So that takes us to, I'm going to skip some of these because they're here and there. 1979, you had Dracula starring Christopher Lee. The same year, you had a remake of Nosferatu, the silent film. It was called Nosferatu the Vampire. And both of those are obviously based on Dracula. That same year saw the release of a comedy Dracula film called Love at First Bite, starring a very, very young Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's get to 1979 when this trend really starts to pick up heat. What I figured I would do is I'll read you a description of what the two movies are about. See if you can guess the films.
Okay.
If you can't guess the films, the first clue is I will give you the lesser known film and see if you can guess the more well-known film from that year.
Okay.
All right. So this is 1979. Two supernatural horror films are released. Both of them are about a family moving into a building where a previous family of tenants was murdered. The father in both films gets possessed by the previous murderers, ultimately attacking his family with an axe.
That sounds like The
Amityville
Shining.
Horror.
Amityville Horror is one. Mike,
Shining.
The Shining is the other. That is the twin
Wow.
films.
I thought
Oh,
of both of them. Yep.
You guys got both of them. That's pretty cool.
Well, they're both kind of pretty known
Good
films.
job.
Yeah, good job, man. That's cool. That's cool. I wasn't expecting each of you to get one of the other films. That's pretty good. So I'm going to skip a couple of these now and go to 1981. 1981 saw the release of these two raunchy comedy films. I'll give you that little clue there. These are sex comedies depicting a group of young male friends trying to lose their respective virginities or perform other sexually related missions.
Porky's?
Porky's is the more popular of the two.
Okay.
The
Not Meatballs.
No, Meatballs came out a few years later, and that one wasn't as like raunchy. So the lesser known of the two films is called The Last American Virgin.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah.
No.
Porky's, The Last American Virgin, and also that year were two other screwball sex comedies called Losing It and Screwballs. So you had like four of them that year. Porky's is the one that kind of like, took the cake there. Mike, I think you can get this one. It's 1983.
Okay.
Both of these films feature slightly older than usual versions of a fictional super spy, played by two different actors respectively. One who was the actor and one who became the actor following that character,
Right.
Both of them are based on books by the same author.
The James Bonds one.
They're James Bond films, yes.
I think the one.
So it's the year that it's Roger Moore versus Sean Connery.
Connery. I think Connery's was
Johnny English.
Was it Diamonds Are Forever?
Nope.
Never Say Never Again. Then.
Never Say Never Again.
Yep. It was the
Roger Moore one.
Yep.
Sean Connery's,
which is the lesser
Johnny
known
English.
one.
Johnny English.
It's not necessarily the lesser known one. I actually think this one's probably better known one of the two, because the villains, one of the women in the film went by the name Pushy Galore.
That was Goldfinger.
Octopussy.
Octopussy.
Yeah.
Octopus. Okay.
Octopussy and Never Say Never Again came out in 1983.
Okay.
Pushy Galore.
Pushy Galore.
In 1984, two movies came out. They are horror films in which people enter their dreams and are being killed in their dreams by a serial killer.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
So Nightmare on Elm Street is the more popular of the two, definitely. The less popular of the two films that came out in 1984 is called Dreamscape.
I've actually heard of Dreamscape.
I've heard of Dreamscape.
Yeah, so
I've never
seen it. I've heard about it.
Yeah. 1985 saw the release of three films, all involving small, destructive, evil creatures. Small.
Gremlins.
Gremlins is the main one, I would say.
Critters.
Critters is the other one.
Ghouls.
And Ghoulies is the other one. Very good.
Right. We got it.
So Gremlins is obviously the most popular one that year.
Yeah.
Critters is probably the second most popular
Critters
one.
is, and all I remember about Ghoulies, because I've never seen Ghoulies, but all I remember about it is the box that you would see at the video store.
They're coming out of the trash.
There's a little tiny, like weird looking critter guy, like coming out of the toilet bowl. Yeah, like that's all I remember with Ghoulies. Critters. I've never seen the original Critters, but I saw Critters 2. And Critters 2.
Were you able to follow along?
Yes, I was, because it's like a standalone film, and it also stars Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh,
in his very, very first film role.
wow.
Yeah. The following year, 1985. This is 1985 with Gremlins, Ghoulies, and Critters. 1985 also had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other pairs of twin films that year.
Wow.
And in some cases, there were actually like more than one film. So starting with 1985, there's 3 movies that come out in 1985. All of them are about a one-man army. And it stars 3 of the biggest action stars of all time.
Rambo?
Rambo 2.
2.
So just think, Rambo 2, one-man army. Who's another big action star from the 80s?
Commando.
Commando is the other one.
Commando, yeah.
And I don't think you're going to get the third one, but the third one stars Chuck Norris.
Texas Walker Ranger.
No.
It's one of. It would only be one of 2 franchises, because those are like his big franchises.
Missing in Action?
Missing in Action is the other one, yeah. Because he had Delta Force, he had Missing in Action were his big franchises. Yeah. So 1985, you have Rambo: First Blood Part 2.
You mean I got all 3 of them?
One of the most awkward. It's one of the most awkward titles in history, man. Rambo: First Blood Part 2.
Part 2.
Commando and Missing in Action. 1985 also saw the release of 2 zombie movies released simultaneously. Both are sequels to Night of the Living Dead. Both are written and directed by George A. Romero.
Dawn of the Dead?
So Dawn of the Dead is, well, it's not Dawn of the Dead. What comes after Dawn?
Dusk.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. So it's Day of the Dead.
Chud?
And, and Return of the Living Dead. Both come out.
Return of the Living Dead.
And then I think Dawn of the Dead comes out a couple years after that. 1985 saw these 3 films released.
Jesus Christ.
All 3 of these films feature teens who dabble in science and get way over their heads.
Weird Science.
Weird Science is the first one.
Real Genius.
Real Genius is the second one. And I would say the third one's probably definitely the least popular of the 3.
Space Camp.
It's called My Science Project.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
No.
Now, Weird Science and Real Genius, I think, are probably equal in popularity.
Yeah, I like Real Genius and Weird Science.
And Weird Science. I love Weird Science. Well, so Weird Science is John Hughes, so, you know. 1985 saw these pair of films, which both feature protagonists who go back in time and meet high school versions of their family members.
Oh, Back to the Future is one.
Back to the Future is the more popular of the 2, probably. The other one's not an easy one to guess.
Yeah, I can't even think of another one.
Now, it's funny, the other one is actually a fairly popular movie. It starred what was her name? Kathleen Turner, and it was directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, Peggy Sue Got Married.
That's it. Peggy Sue Got Married.
Peggy Sue Got Married.
Which actually was a pretty big hit that year. But yeah,
it was a good movie.
But when you think about it, like they really are the similar plots. Like they go back and meet, their past families.
Yeah, and that's a Nicolas Cage movie I can actually watch in summer.
Nicolas Cage is playing Dracula in a film coming out in next year called Renfield.
Oh, good.
And he's going to play Dracula. And I saw pictures of him on set. Woo! He's like, he looks like John Travolta in Friday Night and Saturday Night Fever. Fucking crazy.
He looked like the unreleased Superman. Superman Lives with the long flowy hair.
He looks like Face Off Part 2. All right. 1985.
Jesus Christ.
This is the last one for 1985. Saw the release of 4 vampire movies involving teenage characters.
Okay.
Monster Squad.
Monster
Nope.
Squad was the one.
Monster Squad was
No.
not. Nope.
Wow.
Oh, Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is the most popular one.
Yeah. The
second most popular one is one that actually was pretty popular.
Was it the one with Jim Carrey becoming a vampire?
No, I thought that was One Spitting.
No, that was Love It. That was Love at First Bite.
Oh.
This one is actually it's It's a Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh wow.
It's called Near Dark.
So
it's the Lost Boys, Near Dark, Fright Night.
Fright Night. That was the one I was thinking about.
And probably the least popular of the 4, a movie called Vamp.
Never heard of Vamp.
Yeah, exactly. So we finally moved to 1986.
Ooh.
1986 sees the release of 2 films about hot shot fighter pilots.
Top Gun.
And
Iron Eagle.
Yep.
I loved both of those movies.
Yeah, Top Gun. It's funny, Iron Eagle was released first, but Top Gun more than quadrupled the box office of Iron Eagle.
Well, because Top Gun was more believable.
It was also more flashy. And you had a rising star with Tom Cruise and all that.
And Iron Eagle just had the Queen soundtrack.
We also had that latently homosexual volleyball game in Top Gun as well.
Yeah.
1986. I'm going to give you this one because you're not going to get the second one. But in 1986, saw the release of 2 animated feature films starring transforming robots. So the first one was Transformers the movie.
The other was GoBots the movie.
And the other one was GoBots the movie. It was GoBots Battle of the Rock Lords.
Wasn't Voltron involved? Didn't they transform?
Voltron was the
lions.
They were the lions, and they turned into the big robot character.
Or they have the ones that have the cars.
That's the janky one, man. That's not the real Voltron, man. I used to watch Voltron when I was a kid, and I turn it on. It was one of the car Voltron episodes, and I'd be like, "What the fuck, man? Where's my real Voltron at?"
That's like turning on the TV and watching the Ghostbusters, but not the real Ghostbusters.
Not the real
Ghostbusters.
One with the rip-off Ghostbusters with the fucking gorilla. What's funny about the real Ghostbusters? The real Ghostbusters, the one that's based on the real Ghostbusters.
Only has Slimer in it. That's it.
Ernie Hudson auditioned for the voice of the character he played in the movie, but they told him he didn't sound enough like the character in the movie.
What the?
Where am I at? I lost my place.
Meanwhile, they had the guy that did the voice of Garfield playing Peter Venkman.
Playing Peter Venkman, and then Bill Murray does the voice of Garfield.
Well,
you know the name.
The circle is now complete.
You know the name of the guy who did the voice of Garfield and Peter Venkman?
No.
His name was Lorenzo Music. Don't ask me how I know that. In 1987, apparently there's a twin film to RoboCop. I did not know this till I saw this list. So RoboCop obviously was the monster hit that it was, but there was another movie released about a cyborg cop called The Vindicator. And I looked it up, and it looks like one of the a real like K-list movie, like really budget. All right, let's move down here. I'm gonna skip a couple to see if I can get to some. This is a good one. Between 1987 and 1989, so this is over a 2-year period, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies released over this 2-year span that all portray boys who transform into or switch bodies with adult men.
They got Big.
Big is the biggest one, obviously.
Right. Shit. Was
You got
The
He-Man. Oh.
There was one starred.
Wasn't there one the kid? Wasn't that? No,
No,
that wasn't
that was
switching
that
bodies.
was Bruce Willis. That's like in the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
One starred Dudley Moore. Another one starred Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage, I think. Another one starred the Coreys, Feldman and
I
Hayden.
remember seeing the one with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage. I do remember watching
And
that one.
It's easy to confuse that one with the Dudley Moore one because it's like the same movie, but they just have different titles.
Oh.
So you have Big, like father, like son. Vice
Wasn't Dudley Moore with Kirk Cameron?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there was Vice Versa. And those are the movies that I confused because one's Judge Reinhold, one's Dudley Moore.
Okay.
There was a movie called 18 Again. Oh, actually, it was 6 films because there's 18 Again, 14 going on 30. And the film starring the Coreys, Dream a Little Dream.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a very popular
Theme
that year. Yeah. 1989 saw the release of 2 buddy cop films. Starring
Turner
a police
Hooch,
officer.
no.
Yes, I was gonna say starring a police officer and a dog.
Oh,
Okay.
Turner
K9.
Hooch.
Turner
and
K9.
Hooch.
Turner Hooch and K9. So Turner Hooch was the Tom Hanks classic, and K9 starred the lesser of the 2 Belushis.
I spit out Turner and Hooch, and I was like, no, to a buddy cop film, it must have been Tango and Cash. But
I was mid-drink when I said buddy cop film, and I was trying to swallow it quick enough so I could say between a human and a dog. Here's 2 films that I really like that are fucking awful films.
Good preface.
But they both came out in 1989, and they both involve underwater explorers discovering strange new creatures that try to kill them.
The Abyss is
Well,
one.
now the Abyss came out that year. And I would say, yes, it's kind of like in that vein, but there's not really like the villain, and that's the humans. It's not the creatures that they discover. There's 2 movies that came out that year in which the creatures that they discover try to kill them.
Oh. Underwater creatures?
Well, yeah, one's called Leviathan.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That one starred Peter Weller,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one was called Deep Star 6.
I remember that one too. I think if I remember the box to that one, it was like one of those spacesuits, but underwater, and the bottom half of it's been chewed away.
That's Deep Star 6.
Okay.
But Leviathan and Deep Star 6 are basically the same exact, like as close to the same exact movie as they could possibly be.
Okay.
Now the Abyss I would probably throw into that because it kind of is in that vein, but they're not.
It's just a different.
Yeah, different ending. You know.
Yeah.
1991 saw the release of 2 movies based on this legendary character who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
And then the other one was called Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
That was a TV movie that was released in the same year as
I
Robin
was say I don't remember another Robin Hood that year.
1991. This is another big year for like twin films. 1991 saw the release of 2 crime films about that both involved the legendary mobster Bugsy Siegel.
Bugsy, which had
Bugsy's one of them.
Yeah.
That was the one with Warren Beatty. That was the
Warren
Oscar
Beatty.
nominated one. The other one starred Christian Slater as Lucky Luciano.
Yeah, I remember that one. What's the name of that one? There's like 4 of them.
Lucky Luciano is Christian Slater. Patrick Dempsey plays Meyer Lansky.
That was the one I watched. I've seen the most.
Richard Grieco plays Bugsy Siegel.
Mm-hmm.
It has a very, very simple name to this movie. It's called Mobsters.
Yeah.
Now, Bugsy is probably the more prestigious of the 2 films, but Mobsters is the one I enjoy watching more.
Yeah, I enjoy Mobsters the best.
Yeah. 1992 saw the release of 2 movies about Christopher Columbus.
One was 1492.
One was 1492, Conquest of Paradise.
Right.
And the other
Columbus?
the other one was called the other one was called Christopher Columbus, The Discovery.
Okay.
One of them had the Frenchman playing Columbus, wasn't it?
Gerard Depardieu.
Gerard Depardieu. Yeah.
That was, I think that was 1492. think it was 1492 was Gerard Depardieu and Armand Santi. Christopher Columbus starred nobody I ever heard of. 1993 saw the release of 2 hip hop parody films that were mockumentary films. Both films.
Do the Right Thing.
No, that was Spike Lee.
Oh, Spike Lee, yeah.
Yeah, this is. I don't think either of you guys are probably going to get this one. The first one's called CB4, which starred Chris Rock.
Nope.
And the other one was called Fear of a Black Hat.
Never heard that one.
Which was a parody of Fear of a Black Planet, which was an album by Public Enemy. I actually saw both of them. Fear of a Black Hat.
I remember CB4 coming out. I never watched either one of them.
CB4 was
you were
okay.
Going to say Airheads.
Nah, CB4 was okay. Fear of a Black Hat was better. Let's see here. Oh, 1993's got a good one here. These are 2 Western movies about a real guy.
Tombstone and Wyatt Earp.
Tombstone and Wyatt Earp. Yeah.
Tombstone and Wyatt Earp. I actually didn't know how to not to give it away because it actually says 2 movies about Wyatt Earp. I was like, I can't say the guy's name.
I would say Tombstone was the more popular of the 2.
Tombstone is the more fun to watch.
Yeah, I enjoy watching Tombstone.
Wyatt Earp was not a bad film, but it's longer and it's like the Bugsy Mobster connection. Like Tombstone is the more flashy film, where Wyatt Earp is the more like prestigious one.
Wyatt Earp's like the Dances with Wolves.
Well, that's because it's Kevin Costner. And
it's Kevin Costner.
A lot of scenes of Kevin Costner chewing up scenery.
Yes.
Whereas Kurt Russell's like, I'm just going to shoot from people.
No, the only person
I heard Kurt Russell.
The only person who chews up scenery in that film is Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday.
And he does a great job too. He's awesome.
I'll be a Huckleberry.
I'll be a Huckleberry.
I actually just watched it recently.
I heard the director, even though the director got credit, like Kurt Russell took over the filming of that movie.
Yeah, I heard that. Like the director was like a new guy.
Yeah,
he was kind of like in over his head, and Kurt Russell kind of like showed him the way.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "This is the way." 1993 is another big year for twin films. This one is a twin film about a 12-year-old boy who somehow gets involved in Major League Baseball.
Rookie.
Angels in the Outfield.
Nope. That came out a couple years later.
Oh.
Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year, and
the other one's actually one of my comfort films. It's like a bad film that I kind of enjoy watching.
That's the one where the kid becomes like the owner,
the manager.
He's the manager of the team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, he manages the Cubs, doesn't he?
Rookie of the Year, the kid becomes a pitcher for the Cubs.
Because he falls and hurts.
And the other one, the kid becomes the owner of the Minnesota Twins. It's called Little Big League.
Little Big League.
That was it.
I like that. I like Little Big League better of the two. That's one of my favorite ones. Let's see here. Look for a good one. I will buy you dinner if you get both of these films.
Wow.
In 1995, we have 2 films that are released that both involve drag queens going on a road trip across the country.
Tu Wan Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar.
That's the American one. The other one takes place in Australia.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
You're the one who would get this one. I have no clue.
The other one takes place in Dubai. It was a very short movie.
Crocodile Dundee goes drag.
So Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar is definitely more popular of the two. Starred Patrick Swayze, John Leguizamo, and Wesley Snipes of all people.
Yeah.
The other film stars Hugo Weaving and Terrence Stamp. And it's called The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
I knew that one too. Like I knew of it. I just
well.
So
no
look, I got half
you.
of it. Do I get
No
lunch,
dinner.
breakfast, a hot pocket, perhaps?
We'll give you
a Pop-Tart.
Hot pocket.
Hot pocket.
Hot pocket. 1990. Oh my God, this is bad. 1994 and 95 saw the release of these 3 video game franchise films all involving fighting.
All right.
Mortal
Double
Kombat.
Dragon.
Double Dragon, Mortal Kombat,
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter. It all came out the same
Yeah.
year. All three suck ass.
And I think Mortal Kombat was the better of the.
I would say it was the most popular of the three.
Mortal Kombat is
Though
probably the most
Raul
popular
Julia
of the
did
three. I do enjoy Street Fighter because Raul Julia fucking sells it.
Yeah.
And Ming Na Wen is in that film, and I already have an infatuation with her to begin with. 1995 saw the release of these two movies about Scottish heroes.
Braveheart.
Rob Roy.
Braveheart and Rob Roy.
Roy.
Although Braveheart's definitely the more popular of the two.
Yes.
1995 saw the release of these two erotic dramas centering on the lead character being involved in the stripper profession.
Oh,
The Crime Game? No.
No. Showgirls.
Showgirls, Paul Verhoeven classic. And the other one stars Demi Moore.
Yeah.
Oh, Striptease.
Striptease.
Yep.
In the same year. And the aforementioned Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
1996 saw the release of two films about teenage witches.
96 Teenage Witches.
One of these is definitely way more popular than the other one.
Not Teen Witch.
No,
That was in 96. Okay.
was
That was the night. That was in the 80s. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sabrina? No. Not Sabrina the Teenage Witch. The Craft.
I was gonna say your girl Veruza Balk is in this one.
The Craft.
The Craft. The other one is called The Little Witches, which I've never heard of. I've never heard of that one.
Nope.
So that's why I said like The Craft is definitely the more popular of the two.
The Craft, otherwise known as The Smiths, very long video.
I like The Craft.
Do too.
1996. So these two films released. Both involve terrorists hijacking a plane.
Air Force One.
Air Force One is one of them.
Air Force One.
The other one is best known for killing off Steven Seagal in the first 10 minutes.
Oh.
Starts
You would permit that?
Kurt Russell, John Leguizamo.
Oh,
yeah,
executive branch. No,
executive
officer, executive branch, executive decision.
3 syllables. Executive decision. 1997 saw the release of these two films, which I have to say are the inspiration behind this episode.
Okay.
Both are disaster films.
Armageddon and Deep Impact.
I'm not finished. Both are disaster films centering around the eruption of a volcano.
Dante's Peak.
Volcano and Dante's Peak. Each of you got one right. There you go. Should have kept score. 1997 saw the release of a film we actually talked about on the presidential episode, and a movie that was released the same year. It's very similar. Both films center around a scandal in Washington, D.C. involving a murder investigation at the White House.
Murder 1600?
So Murder 1600 was the one that we talked about on the presidential episode. The other one that came out that year is called Absolute Power.
Was that a Clint Eastwood movie? No.
Wesley
that
Snipes.
was In the Line of Fire is the Clint Eastwood one.
Okay.
Murder at 1600 was Wesley Snipes. Absolute Power, I think, starred Gene Hackman. I want to say, I might be thinking of something. Oh, that is a Clint Eastwood one. Absolute Power. It's the Clint Eastwood one. So he did it because he also did In the Line of Fire, which is also about a presidential assassination.
Right.
But that came out a couple years later. 1998 saw the release of these two computer animated films about insects that don't want to conform to their
Bug's Life.
Ants.
I like how each of you are getting one of the other ones. That's right. So it's Ants and A Bug's Life. Yeah. 1998 saw the release of these two disaster films involving a comet.
That would be Armageddon
and Deep Impact.
Okay, you ready for this? I'm going to run through this for you. Between 1997 and 1998,
okay,
you had Doomsday Rock, Asteroid, Deep Impact, Armageddon, Judgment Day, and Tychus. All are global catastrophic risk disaster films centered around an impending impact about to hit the Earth.
What happened in that year that everyone was like, this is a thing, this is going to happen?
I think some of it had to do with a couple years before that was the Shoemaker-Levy comet, which was the one that hit the surface of Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
And it was like the comet like broke up into like I think it was like 9 or 10 pieces that all hit Jupiter around the same time, and it was like the first time that scientists were able to like witness an asteroid impact on a planetary surface.
Okay.
And I think something about that had to have inspired people.
Yeah.
You know, because we always have asteroids flying by the Earth at any given time.
Didn't I just read that a giraffe-sized one touched down somewhere?
Half a giraffe.
Half a giraffe. Sorry.
How the fuck you get that measurement? Half a giraffe.
Did you read? I read it. Adrian showed me it on Facebook, and the person that commented like, a giraffe is such an arbitrary. What half? He goes, it's
Yeah. Neck, the ass,
the ass, the half.
Is it bottom? Is it front to back?
If you said half a horse, I would probably be like, okay, I think I could figure that one out because the horse is a relatively symmetrical animal. But then you say half a giraffe, it's like, you got an 8-foot-long fucking neck, a 10-foot high body, and like how big was the impact? Was it about 20 meters, about 30 meters? I say half a giraffe.
It was a big fucking giraffe.
There's a big fucking giraffe. Are we talking adolescent giraffe? Oh my God. 1998 saw the release of 2 prestigious World War II films.
1998.
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan is one of them.
Not Thin Blue Line.
Wrong color.
Not
Thin
Red Line.
Red
Thin
Line.
Red Line.
Yeah, Thin
Okay.
Red Line.
That's why I said not Thin Blue Line.
Yeah. Private Ryan, definitely the more popular of the two.
Yeah.
1999 saw the release of these two movies, which were both about a 24-hour-a-day TV show about a man's life.
Truman Show and Ed TV.
Very good. Truman Show and the Ed TV. Yep. And 1999 is another year for like fucking movies everywhere, ripping each other off. So here we go. 1999. These 4 films that came out in 1999 are all science fiction films involving the theme of a world that is either real or illusion.
The Matrix is one.
Matrix.
Is Existence one of them?
Existence.
Yes.
No, I knew you would know that one, man.
Whoa.
Made me watch that fucking weird ass movie. The third one stars Rufus Sewell, Kiefer Sutherland, and William Hurt, and it's actually a really, really good movie, and probably would have been a popular one if it wasn't for The Matrix.
Oh.
Kev, I think you probably have seen this one before.
I think so too. It sounds familiar. Rufus Sewell.
Dark City.
Dark City, yeah.
Dark City's a really good one. The last one I don't know if I've ever heard. I think I might have heard it, but I don't think I've ever seen it. It's called The 13th Floor.
No,
I have seen it. I think I have seen it, yeah.
I've never seen it. It's produced by Roland Emmerich, who did all the disaster films. Like
It wasn't.
Independence Day and everything, so.
It was okay. It was.
Yeah.
It was. You know, it was okay. Not the best.
1999 saw the release of this twin film extravaganza. Both are caper films involving the relationship between a beautiful female insurance investigator and a male thief who steals expensive paintings.
The Thomas Crown Affair.
Thomas Crown Affair, which was Pierce Brosnan and what's her name? Renee Russo.
And Entrapment.
And Entrapment. Very good.
I was going to say Entrapment, yeah.
Entrapment. All I remember about Entrapment was
Catherine
Zeta-Jones' ass going underneath the laser beams.
Wasn't that the one with Sean Connery?
Sean Connery, yeah.
That's what got her to be, her taste for old men.
That's the one I've actually seen. I don't think I've seen some of the crowd, the other one.
Mm-hmm. There was like this rumor that Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery had like a relationship during the filming of that film. and it was kind of like impacted by the next year when she won the Oscar for Chicago. Sean Connery was the one who gave her the Oscar that year. And when he read all the nominees, and then when he opened up the envelope and he went, the Academy Award goes to Kate. and the odd thing was Kate Winslet was also nominated that year. And she had to kind of wait to figure out if it was her or Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Are they both Welsh? Catherine Zeta-Jones and
Catherine Jones
Sean
is Welsh. Sean Connery is Scottish.
Scottish.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why he's able to play an Irish cop and a Russian submarine commander.
And an English spy.
And an English spy. Yeah. 1999. Oh, Kev, you and I were talking about this on the Gods and Devils episode.
Oh, we also forgot one thing he can play. A Spanish peacock.
Yes. Tell me about your homeland of Scotland. So, Kev, you and I talked about this one on the Gods and Devils episode. 1999 saw the release of these two supernatural religious horror films, both starring Gabriel Byrne.
Oh, End of Days.
Mm-hmm.
And Stigmata.
Stigmata and End of Days.
I just watched Stigmata the other day. It was bad.
So was End of Days.
I think I saw Stigmata. I don't think I saw End of Days.
Yeah, End of Days was Arnold Schwarzenegger and Gabriel Byrne.
But I did
Between
not
the two,
one.
End of Days is worth watching.
Yeah. And
I've seen Stigmata, so.
The very next year, there was another film released that's very similar to that. It was starring Winona Ryder. It was called Lost Souls. 1999, so the release of these two horror films, both based on the 1959 novel The Haunting of Hill House.
The Haunting.
The Haunting.
Notting Hill.
And The House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, yeah.
1999 saw the release of these two science fiction films about humanoid robots trying to experience emotion.
Bicentennial Man?
AI.
AI and Bicentennial Man. You got it. AI and Bicentennial Man.
And I get one, Kevin gets one.
I'll be honest, I think between the two, I enjoyed Bicentennial Man more than AI. And I love Steven Spielberg. It was just, I
didn't like Bicentennial Man that much. I was
I enjoyed it.
Much bigger on artificial intelligence, yeah.
So
I remember
Oliver Platt and Robin Williams didn't do it for you, huh?
I had a student one year back when I was teaching high school say, Mr. C, what's artificial intelligence? And I said, oh, it's like robotics, like a robot that has, human emotions and intelligence and can, act on its own, sort of like an, automated system, whatever. And she goes, oh. And the way she said that made me say, what did you think it was? She goes, I thought it was just when somebody, pretended they were smart.
Wait a minute.
And I couldn't get mad at that. That was a really good answer.
Actually, I thought it was when a blonde dyed her hair a different color.
It's artificial intelligence. You got it. So that is the end of 1979 through 1999's twin film list. So I think because this is already going pretty long that we should save the 2000s for another episode because there are a lot of them on that list too.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but this was fun. This came out better than I anticipated. I was hoping it would be good, but it was much better than I thought it was going to be. Again, I said that about the last episode. I'll end up listening to this one Monday morning and be like, this is shit. This is horrible. The fuck was I thinking?
We didn't go off the rails as much as we should have.
No, I mean, not so much go off the rails, but we did. It was fun. We did have some fun with it, and we did. You guys, you impressed me. You guessed a lot more than I thought you were going to get. The one that I think was the best one was like you guys got that first one like boom right away. I was like, wow, The Shining and Amityville Horror.
Well, those are both came to my mind as soon as you started talking about it.
So I did skip a lot of things on here though, because there's like There was Secret of My Success and Working Girl, which came out in the same year. Dangerous Liaisons in Valmont, which are the same story basically. The Forbidden Dance in the Lambada came out in the same year. Movies called The Hard Way and Into the Sun, which are both about actors studying to be partnering up with cops so they can study them for a role. California Natural Born Killers came out in 1994. Camp Nowhere and Heavyweights, which are both about kids at a summer camp.
Yeah.
Babe and Gordy, which are both about pigs.
The pigs,
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot about Gordy.
Yeah. Kid in King Arthur's Court and Kids of the Round Table came out the same year. Powder and Phenomenon came out the same year.
I think that's a bit of a stretch. Powder and Phenomenon.
Powder and Phenomenon. It's a little bit of a stretch, yeah. Sliding Doors and Run Lola Run, which are both movies about women living in like parallel universes. There's a lot of things like Studio 54 and The Last Days of Disco came out in 1998. So I skipped. There was a lot that I kind of skipped because I was trying to like keep it to ones that I knew, ones that I knew that were like more popular that I knew we all would know, and that would be a little more fun to talk about, you know. So, gentlemen, what do we think about the drinks we had this evening?
Well, I finished both of mine.
I'm not quite done my second, but it's like a breakfast in my mouth tonight.
Well, I figure you did it the right way. You did the French toast first, and you followed it with the syrup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of the way it should be. Now, my drink was really bitter at the beginning, but it got a lot less bitter as I got to the bottom of the bourbon.
The drunker you get, the better it tastes.
Yeah,
the simple syrup should have conquered a bit of that bitterness.
I don't know if I just didn't like measure it right or not. It didn't really give measurements on the site I found it on. It was just like, you know, bourbon, lemon juice, lime juice, simple sugar. I'm like, okay. Blah, blah, blah. It was good. It just took a little while to get past the bitterness. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, please join us for episode 55. The Oscars are this Sunday. And in celebration of that, next week's episode is going to be about Oscar snubs and flubs. We are going to be talking about movies that should have been nominated, or actors and actresses that should have been nominated, or movies, actors, you know, things that should have won instead of whatever, you know, all the things that we think were mistakes by the Oscars, including 2 years ago, I think it was it 2 or 3 years ago when they nominated, they announced La La Land, but it wasn't the actual winner.
Yeah.
And they had to
more than 3 years ago.
I had to tell everybody to sit back down again. Sorry. Warren Beatty.
Who was that? Warren Beatty? Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't his fault. They handed him the wrong envelope, I think. But yeah, so we'll be doing some snubs and flubs next week on episode 55. Thank you for joining us this evening for 54 Film Twins. And actually, this was just 1979 to 1999 Film Twins. We're thinking somewhere down the line, we'll revisit the subject and we'll look at the films of the 2000s. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. Remember to send us some emails. We would love to get some drink suggestions from people out there, or some suggestions for movie topics we can cover, or even a little bit of both. You know, drop us a line at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com, or again, visit us at linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links in one very convenient place. Thank you for joining us here at the crossroads between pickled and fermented. Again, I am Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the episode as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.